This is the guts of a Ryobi P720 LED work light. Just got this really recently just because I kind of needed one. So I figured why not do a guts video of it, especially given this is a Chinese thing. Having some idea of the internal construction is generally a good idea given how nasty some of it can be. But this one looks fairly decent. One quite interesting thing about it is that it's got a integrated 20 watt, actually it's a 23.4 watt, it's 18 volts at, think brain, 1.3 amperes, little standard brick type switch mode power supply. This just fits into a little notch in the casing. Just a quite simple way of having a power supply without them having to roll their own. Just buy one in, and given that they're buying these in such huge volumes, they just order the thing with only about a foot of cord on it, and then just terminate the wires directly to the board on their own hardware, which of course, because none of this is main side, it's all separated extra low potential, it means that the safety requirements and what have you are a lot easier to do. A couple of power diodes at the input, one from the power supply, one from the battery. It's basically their diode adding them together so that, diode ORing them together, so that way feeding a fully charged battery into this, which is about 20 odd volts, well 20 point something volts, wouldn't blow up the power supply if its secondary isn't the kind that's designed to handle electricity being backfed into it. The rest of this board is pretty much just a bog standard, or at least, well, bog standard topologically. It's just a constant current boost converter, because the power LED that this uses, which is a standard 20 watt one, although the chips, in addition to all lighting evenly, they are substantially bigger than the 20 watt, in sneer quotes, LEDs that you can get for not huge amounts of money, but they also tend to have a lot of duff chips in them. BigClive.com, if you're not familiar with this channel, you should be, has done a number of videos on the subject, so won't go into already well-tread ground, but fairly simple. This shielded core radial pin inductor. Have seen this before, but it's quite interesting. It's basically just a it's quite a useful thing to know about, just because these help. Basically, all the magnetic flux is contained. Well, I mean, there's a certain amount of leakage flux, but that's fairly typical to be expected. And it basically just keeps EMI and SHMU to a minimum, as well as minimizing issues with things like induced currents elsewhere on your board. There's this device. It's an XL Semi XL6006 SE. Says an I or a 1. I think it's a 1. But looks like an eye camera, but you can see a little bit of a divot at the top. That's just going to be used as a constant. If that isn't a constant current boost converter, because there are a number of chips designed specifically for LED drive applications like this, they're just using a standard thing and just abusing the overcurrent protection that it would have, because a lot of them have that, and you can kind of sort of abuse that as a means of getting a constant current supply from a chip that isn't designed to do it, even though generally you're better off using a purpose-built chip. There's another diode, same part number. Again, these are all just Schottky diodes, and they're just using them for low losses. That's just going to be the boost converter diode. There's a 10, I think 10, it's either 10 nanohenry or 10 microhenry, probably 10 microhenry choke. Just, yeah, I think that's in series with the output. That's just a little bit of a smoother, just for a little current smoother thing. Couple little lytics. Don't recognize the branding, but long term those will probably get replaced anyway. And then the 78L05 and a completely unbranded microcontroller. Or some other chip that's just being used for the on-off functionality, because there's this little PCB that goes under a little plastic thing in a portion of the case there. That's just the on-off functionality. This is just straight up on or off. One useful feature that this would have is if you had either multiple buttons, or it would cycle full brightness, fractional brightness, off, because this thing is extraordinarily bright. But yeah, it's a fairly typical thing. Overall, I give it my stamp of approval, especially given the price point. And it does have a nice big honking heatsink for the thing, which is always good to see. And of course, this heatsink is vented to the outside. It isn't something stupid like the just, oh, here's a heatsink, and it's in a non-vented cavity in the enclosure. There's just little tiny holes all along the top and bottom of the case are holes that match with the fins so that there's a decent amount of air circulation through there, at least when the thing's mounted in this position. So yeah. Still slightly a bit on the steep side given what it is, but some of the other LED lights that Home Depot has, which don't have the battery capability, are comparable in price, and they're dimmer at 1,500 lumens versus 1,700 lumens, and the LED is smaller. Although granted, that doesn't really matter all that much because they're only using about 40% of the LED positions in the package, so, you know, whatever. But yeah, definitely they can have these on sale for under $50. I'm going to get a spare. So yeah, overall stamp of approval, barring, you know, torture testing, what have you, but at least, you know, general use. But yeah, it's a thing. But one stupid thing about this that I have seen on a number of their other products that are both battery and mains supply, cordless or electric. They're both electricity, you idiots.